This was a game full of emotions. The Mariners lost 6-5 to the Guardians in extra innings, the first extra innings game of the season, game three. The emotions were way up here. A couple mistakes were made, but you've got to be proud of the fight that this team showed. Welcome to the Dom Skiing Channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. And I know I'm wearing the red and the crimson and gray Mariners jersey. It's the Cougs one. Might be poor taste because it's the Cleveland colors and Kyle Manzardo, plays for the Guardians, but I don't care, right? You know where my allegiance is. Yes, you could say the Mariners deserve to win this game. They absolutely did in certain regards. The Guardians just really made the right decisions to come back in this game. And I'm not going to place too much on Dan Wilson. I'm not going to say it was terribly poorly managed. You look at some of these decisions that he made with the bullpen, right? In 2026, you're going to see a whole lot of teams go into their bullpen early and often. And the Guardians just went off with 6 different relievers. They managed the spots super conservatively. The Mariners were a little bit more aggressive, letting guys pitch to one more batter, right? You had Edward Bizarro pitch to one more batter, and it ends up burning you. You had, Casey Legamina in there when it's a close game. Cole Wilcox actually looked great. I'm going to break him down a little bit more tomorrow. And Andres Munoz allows this homer to Chase DeLauter that all you can do is tip your cap. I was just on Mariners Mojo's stream. He said the same thing. It's all you can do is tip your cap at that point. The Mariners didn't allow a whole lot of hard hits, neither did the Guardians. So when you see Chase DeLauter hit another homer it was like 9:52 on a Seattle March night, 44 degrees at that time. On a pitch that's outside of the strike zone, it looks, the way he doesn't catch all of it, he hits it with a pretty high launch angle off of his bat. Go look at exactly what it was. 99 miles an hour of exit velocity off the bat, 27-degree launch angle. That is a really good launch angle. And to hit it the opposite way, 365 feet, that ball really, really carried. Homer in 20 out of 30 ballparks, 490 XBA. It's tough. Luke Raley answers back with a clutch homer of his own. And man, did the Mariners have the clutch hitting tonight that we've been missing for years or what? Cole Young with the double, Julio with that single, his first hit of the year. Obviously it's going to make you mad, especially when the game goes like this. The Mariners are projected to win. They have the lead for a bunch of it. Brian Wu is pitching excellent through the 6th inning. And then, you go to the bullpen because it's a close game. You're looking to get the matchups. And, the ABS challenges starts flying just in this, I think it was the 6th and the 7th, 8th inning especially. Really late in this game, all the ABS challenges were flying from both teams. You had, I think, consecutive pitches, consecutive at-bats where teams are using these ABS challenges. But it is what it is. That's baseball. You can only go 1-0 every single pitch, and you can't change the past. So I'm not going to dwell on this too much. I'm going to go and look at exactly what these pitchers did. The Mariners playing against Joey Cantillo, the starter tonight, was, I thought, fabulous, to be honest. Robert Refsnyder doesn't check in with a hit. He ends up going 0 for 2, but he worked too long at bats. He almost hit an opposite field homer. He hits it really far in his first at bat to get exactly how far it was. It was a fly out, 304 feet. Really not a high expected batting average. It's not a homer in any ballparks, but 93.5 miles an hour of exit velocity. Just catches it a little bit too much under 36-degree launch angle. Not going to be a homer at that exit velocity. But you really, the bat speed not way up there. He likely trying to hit a single to the opposite field, but he looked good at the plate. He worked some pretty long at bats. He worked a 3-0 count on this one, and then in his next at bat, he works a full count, ends up popping out. But I was pretty happy with what that looked like. Cal's single, his first hit of the year, 960 expected batting average, just a clean piece of up the middle hitting. There was just a whole lot to like here. The Mariners used the ABS challenge as well. Randy turns a strikeout into a walk. Late in the game, the Mariners win a couple as well. I think the Guardians, these consecutive at-bats in the 8th inning, consecutive plate appearances. Angel Martinez strikes out. They challenge on that final pitch, and they don't get it. Then the catcher, Cal Raleigh challenges this walk, doesn't end up getting it. You can go and harp on things, and I know people are going to harp on this Brendan Donovan mistake at the end, but that is absolutely not what I'm going to do. I mean, he made an excellent defensive play in the first inning, sliding into the wall. Had to even see the trainer. I was a little bit worried about him putting his body on the line like that. Just, but he is in the moment. He is a gritty player. His base running in this game affected. He affected the game in all three phases. The defense in the first inning, the base running, with Robles, who I thought were the best two hitters in the lineup, sliding into the plate where, and challenging the outfielder to make that throw, which it ends up being offline. And there was really no chance anyway. I thought, some really good baseball by Brendan Donovan in all three phases. He makes the mistake at the end, but you can't harp on it too much. Luke Raley's homered in 3 straight games. I think he's getting off to that hot start that you would like to see. And he's a timing master. So to see that his timing is good, as he's going up against these righties, I actually support Dan in trying to take advantage of these matchups. I know people are going to harp on 2 different things, 2 players which are becoming the kind of the guys that are going to be blamed for the Mariners. Ryan Bliss pinch hitting here, where people would have liked to see Mitch Garver, with somebody with a little more power, a little more experience playing baseball the last couple of years. He ends up striking out in both at bats. It was tough when he was trying to bunt, and he gets behind in the count, and then he has to protect the plate. So I'm not going to knock too much on that. Then with Leo Rivas, he was trying to protect the plate as well, and he ends up striking out, his only strikeout of the game. Also walked once, also took some really good at-bats in this game. Then Cole Young, he does strike out 3 times. He's been striking out quite a bit, but he hits that opposite field double right down the opposite line in left field, and that gets the 9th inning rally going. And the Mariners end up blowing the save for Cade Smith, which, you got to take some positives from this game before you're moving into tomorrow. You got a whole lot of nationally televised games, from opening day being the only one that's not nationally televised, then moving into Friday night on Apple TV, this one on MLB Network, and then tomorrow on Peacock in the Sunday Night Baseball. Again, you just got to take some positives from this. The Guardians, Chase DeLauder is an absolute stud. Hits another homer. He's homered in 3 straight games. He's got 4 homers on the year. It's like, and he does begin to strike out. Brian Wu had him in a blender for a lot of this game. Gets 2 of his strikeouts. He ends up getting 9 strikeouts. The Mariners attack plan versus Joey Cantillo, they got his pitch count way up to 91 and chased him after 3 2/3 innings. Got 2 earned runs off of him, 4 hits, 3 walks. They were getting base runners early and often. He does strike out a couple of guys out because he is a strikeout artist. He's got 2 really, really good breaking balls. Really 3 at that. His slider was the most effective. The changeup is super elite. Ryan Wold-Smith was talking about that quite a bit. And the curveball also is very good for him. So ends up with just 8 swinging strikes on 91 pitches, but 25 called strikes plus whips. So he was attacking the edges of the zone and trying to get a lot of called strikes. The whiffs, though, the Mariners did not bite on a lot of his pitches. Especially, the Mariners rendered him a 2 times through the order guy and not a 3 times through the order guy, which is I think is a really important thing going forward. Going on to, and also, like, the average exit velocity, not super high for him, but the Mariners did a great job. Look at this, right? 14 pitches in the first inning, then 3 consecutive innings of high pitch counts, 26, 26, 25. So I thought their plan versus the starting pitcher, Joey Cantillo, was solid. And even though the top guy, Rob Refsnyder, who you really brought in to go off against Joey Cantillo, he didn't get the hits. He was fouling off those pitches, getting deep into the count. And Joey Cantillo was forced to respect a lot of these hitters, even the ones without hits early on here. You look at some of these batters. Go down to some of the Mariners batters, like Cal. Do they have okay, we don't have like the individual at bats, like in the pitches faced, but here pitches faced, 24 pitches for Julio, 19 for Cal Raleigh. I'd like to see those numbers go up, but for these guys, right, who were the early count monsters, I thought they did a good job working the count for the most part. Naylor facing 23 pitches, Randy 23, Donovan 21. You're seeing a lot of different pitches, obviously, in the MLB these days with all these different relievers. 6 different relievers the Guardians bring in to get through this game where they have the starter chased early. But they managed it well. I'm going to tip my cap to them in that regard. The Mariners obviously could have made just one play here or there, just not made a mistake here or there. You can't harp on mistakes, though. That's poor coaching. If you say, oh, just don't make that mistake, that was the difference in the game. It's like, yeah, but you're going to make mistakes. So what are you going to tell guys to kind of clam up, kind of freeze up, and not go as hard as they can? No, you tell guys, make mistakes at 100 miles an hour. Like, make if you're gonna play hard, you're gonna make mistakes, But we practice so much. We've had all of spring training. We practice so much. You got to have some confidence in your ability, especially these guys that are all stars like Brendan Donovan. Making that excellent defensive play in the first inning, feeling himself to make that play in the 10th inning, and the throw is offline. That's not a sign of things to come for Brendan Donovan. Obviously, he's not going to make many throws like that all year. He's a Gold Glover. But it happens, once every now and then. And unfortunately, it happened in the huge moment. I thought him and Victor Robles, though, were the best hitters of the night. I'm going to give those two my hitters of the night award, which isn't, a real thing that I do every game on this channel. But them working with each other in tandem, getting on base a whole lot. And you look at the chase percentage, really low for Victor Robles, didn't chase out of the zone a whole lot. Brendan Donovan, maybe a little bit here. But I really thought they had a lot of good at-bats. Victor Robles didn't have as many at-bats, so he only ends up with 16 pitches faced. He's an early count monster as well, but he got his pitches, and he ended up with, I think, 2 hits. Is that correct? I'm going to go check here, the box score. But yeah, he ends up 2 for 3, with a double, with an RBI. Doesn't strike out. So that's exactly what I want to see from Victor Robles. He's a streaky contact hitter. When he gets going, that's going to be a crucial part of this lineup against lefties especially. But him and Luke Raley both performing excellent. He goes 2 for 3 with the double and the RBI. Then Luke Raley comes in his only at-bat. He walks once in his first plate appearance. Then he comes with that clutch 2-run homer in the 10th inning. You really can't ask for more out of this platoon right now, and that's a great sign of things to come. We can talk about how this game was lost and stuff, but we got to go 1-0 tomorrow. Are either of these guys even going to be in the lineup? Is Mitch Garver going to catch, and you're going to move Cal to DH? That's a chance. And then at that point, you're going to have either one of these guys playing right field, or you're going to shift one of these guys from the DH platoon into right field, and you're going to eliminate this platoon for the day and render them both on the bench until pinch hitting situations. I'm proud of the fight this team showed. The clutch hits by Young, Raley, and then Julio to get his first of the year. I'm proud of all those things. Randy walking once with the ABS challenge. That I like that confidence from Randy Arozarena. If there's one, obviously there's a lot of players you want to get confidence, but Randy being the streakiest player in all of baseball, him getting confidence, I think is really. That's a really important thing. He leads the team with 2 runs scored. Cole Wilcox looked great. Only took 10 pitches to get through this inning. Ends up with a strikeout as well. So he could be forcing the issue in this bullpen and staying in there. If he keeps performing like this, and that 96-mile-an-hour sinker, I believe it was, I'm going to go to his profile right quick. I think that is something that we've got to respect a little bit. He is throwing a slider, 87 miles an hour. But yeah, the 4-seam and the sinker, identical velocities, and both having a ton of bite on him. The horizontal break on the 4-seam, 15 inches of horizontal break, and then the sinker, 20 inches of horizontal break. That is nasty. That's approaching cutter territory on the sinker. And then, the 4-seam being identical velocity. Man, those pitches are going to play off of each other well. And then the slider and the sweeper, obviously, also very similar in velocity. And the slider didn't move as much horizontally, doesn't for him, it looks like. But then the sweeper got all sorts of nasty movement on it, sinking a lot, and then also going, 7 inches of horizontal break. It seems like he even had a little bit more last year. So I think there's some really encouraging signs in this game. Cole Wilcox especially. Andres Munoz, you cannot fault him for giving up this homer to Chase DeLauder. If you watch this game, that pitch is it's outside of the zone. it's up and away. Chase DeLauder, he is 6'3", 255. He's got the length to go and chase that. And he does, and he ends up hitting an Oppo Taco. But, I mean, yeah, you got to tip your cap. This guy's clearly a really, really good hitter in just his third regular season game. You can't really fault Andres Munoz. As much as that would be an easy thing to do, it would feel better, to blame this game on someone, to say, oh, the Mariners, should have won this game, and they can't, they could have won this game, and their players should have performed the way that we expected them to perform in this moment. But I'd say that what the Mariners actually did was want to know every pitch. It was stoic. It was, making it about something bigger than themselves, giving all glory to God. It was like, this was a performance by the Mariners that encourages me more than discourages me. One game in the grand scheme of 162, you would have loved to win it. I mean, man, you would love to have this game. But you can't write this off as a poor performance. Okay, there's a little bit of a rant, that I get into. Casey Ligamino doesn't get a whole lot of swing and miss, but he does get through his inning. He does get hit a little bit hard, doesn't get a lot of swing and miss. He could be the odd man out once Carlos Vargas returns, especially the way Cole Wilcox looks. He only gets one swinging strike, and it was on the four-seam fastball. But, 3 called strikes plus whiffs, that's a pretty high rate, for just 10 pitches, and needing just 10 pitches. Also not looking very hittable. The movement on his pitches was forcing these hitters, offline on their swings. Gabe Spire, comes in, throws 3 pitches, gets it out. He really comes in as the contract killer. It would have been nice to see him face Stephen Kwan, yes, because Bizzardo ends up, unfortunately, throwing 24 pitches, giving Stephen Kwan something that he pokes into the opposite field, which, again, I know it sounds like I'm, probably quote unquote glazing the Guardians here, but Stephen Kwan, good piece of hitting there. It's if the opposing team is going to do that, like, there's not much you can do. You want to force teams to make amazing plays. The strategy, whether it's in football, whether it's in baseball, whether it's in basketball. Oh yeah, force them to shoot the 3 ball. Force them to, make the long throw, or hit, force them to do the absolute hardest thing. And I did feel like Mariners were forcing the Guardians to win the hardest way possible. The Guardians just found a way to do it with all these, opposite field swings from Chase DeLauder to Stephen Kwan, and they end up doing it. Also Bizzardo giving up those 2 walks, both on, I think, full counts, where he tries to get a guy to chase out of the zone. Maybe the pitch doesn't land correctly. Maybe he was trying to catch a piece of the plate and he just doesn't. I mean, respect to the Guardians' plate discipline. That's something that the Mariners are just going to need to look at going forward and say, okay, we can do a little bit better, but, respect to the Guardians for pointing out those flaws in Game 3 of the season. And, I mean, I'd rather learn it now than learn it later. Brian Wu, 15 swinging strikes on 83 pitches, 11 on the four-seam fastball. His four-seam is so effortless, gets so much swing and miss. 18 called strikes and whiffs, on this pitch as well. It's truly something special to watch. And then also the average exit velocity being in a sterling place at 85.2 miles an hour. Brian Wu, I mean, super efficient as well through 5 innings. The 6th inning just runs into a little bit of trouble. Still ends up with a quality start. Eric Sabrowski, I wasn't totally familiar with his game. I knew that he was good. I didn't know he was quite this good. 5 swinging strikes on 20 pitches is nasty. And we haven't been able to hit him so far. 86.3 mile an hour average exit velocity. Struck both Julio and Cal out looking on opening day. This is stuff that, it's good data for the Mariners to have. It's good competition for us to face right now, because then going into the Yankees series, we've got a better idea of exactly what we're struggling with right now. In spring training, you can't really tell exactly what you're struggling with on a big league level, when you're facing AA pitchers and stuff. So getting this data right here, right now, it's more solid. And this isn't the data of, got a low batting average, got strikeouts, right? This is the data of what pitches are we struggling with, and why are we struggling with them when you compare to the film. Cal has been an inch away from quite a few long, hard hit balls. Um, I think Cal's been an inch away from a home run, through 3 games. It feels like almost every at bat. He puts a massive swing on it, especially in these 2 strike counts, and a lot of those are going to fly. So I'm not in the slightest worried about Cal or Julio. Both really clutch, professional pieces of hitting up the middle with Cal, and then going to the opposite field with Julio. Um, Not a whole lot of hard hit balls for the Mariners tonight. The hard hit percentage, for both teams, 36 and then 17.2. The expected batting average battle, Mariners won tonight, but not by a large margin. They do out hit the Guardians 9-8, but the Guardians, their bullpen, they're just exhausting their bullpen to win these games. And maybe the Mariners need to do a little more of that. I'd say, using 5 different guys after getting your starter through 6 innings, that qualifies, especially since Joe Cantillo only went 3 2/3, and then they use 6 relievers. Um, Man, losing stings. Losing really is a feeling that you hate, but also being able to take it with a stoic mindset. Realize that it's bigger than just you. It's bigger than your one mistake. I mean, that mistake is going to weigh on Brendan Donovan's mind. That offline throw in the 10th inning, he's not going to do that a whole lot. And he's also batting .364 to start the year, leading the Mariners in batting average. I mean, obviously, other than Victor Robles, right below him. But those two, absolute force. I would trot out the same lineup against another lefty. And the pinch hit decisions, I, for the most part, like them. Ryan Bliss obviously didn't get it going, but I didn't think his at-bats were uncompetitive. He didn't make a whole lot of great contact. Um, it's tough, though. You know what he can do. And I know it's been a while since he's played, but it is what it is. Um, I think that's most of what I wanted to look at tonight. Looking at specific matchups, we could do as well. The win probability added leaders, Sean Armstrong, after giving up that homer to Dom Canzone on opening day, checks in, being a big difference maker in this game. Coming in when, when the Mariners had these guys on base and ended up getting the double play. Leo Rivas grounded into it. Luke Raley did work the walk against him, and he also struck out Brendan Donovan, which was another big reason for that increase. So he gets 6.3 win probability added, and then 15.1 there. But with Luke Raley walking, you take away basically all of the Brendan Donovan and then some. The Mariners getting 7.1 win probability added in their favor. Specific matchups, and Cole Young, man, this is tough. Connor Brogdon knew, this is a young guy in a clutch moment, even though he just had an excellent hit down the line opposite field. I'm going to go ahead and throw a whole bunch of changeups outside to him, which, he only swings at this one. When at that point, it's a 2-strike count, and he's trying to protect the plate on a 2-2 count when you're down to your last strike. So, again, that's more forgivable. Sorry, that's the one that he swung at. So a little further outside the zone, but it is what it is. Luke Raley, that is a great pitch for Luke Raley to hit. He sees it. He times it up. And he takes a swing at this one. Foul tips it. He's, as a timing master, kind of timing up on those foul balls, getting competitive swings on them, just so that you can end up with that, that big hit and barreling up the one that you do get that's right in your wheelhouse. That's what the timing masters do. Mitch Garver would have been the same thing if he had come in for Ryan Bliss, per se, in that moment. Chase DeLauder, man. All these pitches, below here, he does challenge with ABS there, and it doesn't get the challenge, but then, that looked like a protect the plate swing. But man, he's just got a great swing. Also, shout out to my my good friend Jack. This Julio Rodriguez swing on this pitch right here. I mean, it's in on Julio. The Guardians were going in on Julio all night, thinking, okay, he's lanky. It's so tough, especially early in the season when he's not quite in his, in his best form, to go inside on Julio and with both breaking balls and fastballs, and then force him to put a great inside out swing on it. But this was a Derek Jeter esque swing. Jack, shout out to you. You know where you're at. He that's what he told me. He's like, this is a Derek Jeter esque inside out swing, and I agree. The way that he forced his arms to control it, and bringing your arms inside to control it, that takes a ton of like controllable, really solid lean muscle to do that. Moving on to, Brian Wu was controlling the zone all night. Going to some of his pitch charts. He's really working the zone, right? He throws so much in the zone. He throws, over 50% of the time, Brian Wu throws it in the zone. But then he, where George Kirby, struggles to necessarily mix up his command of the strike zone. Like, he commands the strike zone, and he has so much control, but he doesn't have the command to pitch outside on purpose all the time, which I think he's getting better at, and is part of the reason I actually picked him for Cy Young this year. Even though Brian Wu is the far more consistent, high floor option at pitcher. Like, look at the way that he's getting, just mixing up his pitches, as opposed to, let's look at Joey Cantillo, who he was throwing out of the zone a lot, I felt like. And he was getting into a lot of 3-ball counts. They were even saying that on the broadcast quite a bit. There's Joey Cantillo. Yeah, so, I'd say quite a bit more out of the zone, a lot of low stuff, quite a bit in the zone, but just go right back to Brian Wu just to show you the difference. A lot more, solid filling up the zone. And even looking at percentage of pitches in the zone here. Zone percentage, 46% for Joey Cantillo. I'm willing to bet it's over 50 by a decent margin for Brian Wu. 59% in the zone. So, control the zone. I felt like it was a good night overall. That's probably my favorite thing about tonight, was the way the Mariners controlled the zone. And especially Victor Robles and Brendan Donovan on the hitting side, as well as Brian Wu on the pitching side. I think those were battles that the Mariners won. And even blowing the save on Cade Smith, he looked really good on opening day. He looked really good tonight again as well. He looks, his control as a reliever, as a closer, is, with nasty stuff. It's really nasty. Let's even go look at his pitch chart. Cade Smith, with this breaking ball, he says, look, I'm going to throw this breaking ball all over the place and just dare you guys to try to hit it. That's Josh Naylor's, obviously a lefty, way outside. That's maybe one of his few terrible pitches, right? But then these other ones, these ones were all like on purpose. Raleigh, Young, Raleigh, or Rosarena. And then you see going up and in to Julio. And let's go look at Julio. He's a righty, right? So he's on this side of the plate. Look at all these inside pitches that he's facing. Sabrowski, Smith, Sabrowski, Cantillo, even, some off the plate, Festa. So, and then, they throw him something out here, which he doesn't hit, but then, Cade Smith does throw him some stuff in the zone that he ends up hitting. Like, this is the one that he ends up hitting. So it's funny, Julio actually fought against his weakness and got his big hit, his clutch hit on one of the weakness pitches. Then these, swinging strike. The fastball's up and out of the zone. Both teams, Casey Legumina did a good job of forcing the Guardians to come up out of the zone and swing at some high fastballs. Going to Legumina, which I know Mariners fans are not fans of. Legumina and Bliss, they're going to blame those guys. Might even blame Donovan for his mistake in the 10th inning throwing. But I really like, look at these foul. Like Legamina was getting them to just swing at a lot of these. Uh, so I really like that from Legamina. Some fouls, some called strikes. He was pitching out of the zone on purpose tonight. I think. Um, I think Legamina has had some decent control tonight. I think he can be a good option for this bullpen, but then Cole Wilcox, man, look at that. He two pitches right there. Angel Martinez, who is the lefty, and then Rocchio is the switch hitter, right? So he was hitting lefty too, throwing outside the zone there, going inside on Angel Martinez, and getting Brian Rocchio to put this in play and getting out on it. Um, he didn't throw a whole lot of pitches in the zone, to be honest, right? Just a couple in the middle of the zone, which they had to, put swings on, right? In play outs, foul, and then this one I called strike. But when they got something in the middle of the zone with Legamina, they're like really eager to swing at it, which obviously makes sense, but I thought he did a good job pitching up and out of the zone. He knows his stuff is not the best. He can't throw in the middle of the zone all the time like Cam Schlittler and just get swinging strikes like crazy. So I think he's being crafty. He's being a real competitive grinder at the plate and being like a fighter. Man, okay, 31 minutes already. I think I'm going to go ahead and cap it here. Any questions you have in the comments down below, let me know. I'll answer them in the pregame tomorrow. Here's the ABS challenges from the game. The Mariners did a good job winning a lot of these ABS challenges. They win these first two in the second inning. That was Randy's, which turned to a walk. That was massively affected the game. And then Raleigh challenges this one and gets the call there against Jose Ramirez. So, good knowledge to use it against Jose Ramirez, a very consequential point in the game, which, you end up turning to a strike. Then Raleigh challenges against Angel Martinez, doesn't end up winning that. But another effective moment, I believe, could be wrong, but I believe this was to stop a walk from happening. So they're doing a good job of, I think there's, some analytics based stuff, even though there's not as much data. I'm sure they have a lot of stuff from the spring and stuff to work off of where they say this is what's affecting the win probability the most. And they even talked about that on Apple TV last night, talking about like these players are going to have to learn, win probability added, and they're going to have to learn which of these types of which of these pitches are worth challenging just based on how much they're going to affect the game. Whether you think they're, you're sure about it or you're not sure about it, do it in the spots that you think are going to affect the game the most. It is what it is. I mean, the Guardians exhausted their entire bullpen, basically. I think they had a couple guys. They had maybe 2 to 3 more guys in their bullpen that didn't exhaust this game. The Mariners still have a couple guys, Matt Brash, Jose Ferrer, that they didn't exhaust tonight. Cooper Criswell as well. And it'll be interesting to see with Emerson Hancock tomorrow what the strategy is as far as does he go one time through the order and then you go Criswell the second time through the order, see how that goes. Does he go 2 times through the order if he's cruising the first and then you get to Criswell after that? I do expect Criswell to piggyback him at some point. But yeah, 34 minutes. Going to go ahead and cap it here. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the pregame. Before that, I'm going to break down Cole Wilcox. We got some film on him. Got some new data as well. And, I mean, he's a real interesting arm for this bullpen. I think when you talk about the big quality arms at the back of the bullpen that the Mariners could have went out and got, Cole Wilcox shows some traits with how much movement he has on those 2 96-mile-an-hour fastballs. That those alone can be massive tools. And the slider and the sweeper, 2 different fastballs that are at similar velocity, 2 different sliders at similar velocity, with a whole lot of interesting movement. And he was locating them well at night. He was able to throw them in the zone, maybe not middle, but in the zone and get some pretty good results. So, um, interested to see what what he does in this bullpen going forward. And I think he has a really good chance to stick around. But that for real is going to do it. My comment question of the day is going to be, what do you guys think? Um, like what if you're Dan Wilson, what do you tell the team after this? And you are not allowed to say don't make mistakes because you're obviously going to make mistakes. You could also, a lot of people are going to criticize Dan Wilson. That's fine. That's not something that Mariners can change right now. Um, I think he was making analytical decisions. So I think, maybe he goes a little more with his gut. Stephen Kwan, or sorry, Stephen Vogt, the Guardians manager, being more of a player's coach, maybe a little less on the analytics side, willing to go with his gut more. I think if there's one thing I would say for Dan, something that he's, can get a little bit better at, it would be going with his gut more and not, and going away from the analytics just a little bit. Scott Service, I think, ran into a wall towards the end of his tenure, which was pretty long and successful, especially in Mariners history. But I think that's ultimately a little bit of the downfall of Scott Service was, going with analytics, getting these ideas in his head, and then even when the analytics might change, the signs are clearly changing, being able to use your eye to combat those, those ideas that the numbers have and that you've already kind of built up in your head. So Dan Wilson, I would say, going with his gut a little bit more. But this guy, has been around Mariners baseball a lot. He's watched a lot of Mariners baseball. He's been a part of a lot of Mariners baseball. So I do think he understands the eye test and going with your gut and stuff as well. I think that's something he's going to get better at. Anyway, that's my question to you guys. If you're Dan Wilson or if you're one of the players, what do you say in the locker room? You can even say whose perspective you would want it to come from. But I'll go first. I'll say Brendan Donovan. I would love to know, what he's telling his teammates after this as far as that mistake that he made. I think he probably nothing, is answer one. It's like, okay, I made a mistake. Let's not make a big deal about it. Let's not, make, oh, guys, I made a mistake. But number two, it's like, like full confidence. Like, oh yeah, I know I made this mistake. Hey guys, like it's on me. But I'm not going to do that much more. And I mean, knowing that he's a Gold Glover, it's like you've got to have confidence that it's going to be all right. And definitely added some outs above average when he made that sliding catch into the wall where he had to get checked by the trainer in the first inning. And he's doing it with the bat as well. His bat on ball skills have been excellent. Going up against a lefty too. I think the 6th spot in the order is right for him, but really doing his job at that spot in the order, collecting 2 hits tonight, striking out just once. And I think that might have even been against a righty. So that's finally going to do it for me. I know a lot of false endings here, but if you're in that clubhouse, what are some things you would like to hear in that clubhouse? We looked over all these analytics and stuff, but if you're after the game, you're not looking at Baseball Savant. If you're in that clubhouse, if you're one of the players or one of the coaches, as much, maybe the coaches are looking at it and stuff. But what do you say to really get ready to go win this game tomorrow and just keep the spirits high? My main thing would be we showed so much fight tonight. If that's what we look like when we're falling behind in a game and when we quote unquote choke a game, if that's us choking a game, we're gonna win a lot of the games that we choke. We're gonna win a lot of the games that we go down in. So that's gonna be my ending message is if that's what we look like when we choke away a game, we're gonna win a lot of those games that we choke. Hey, as long as you go 1-0 every pitch, as the Mariners did tonight, stay stoic and give all glory to God. Make it about something bigger than yourself. It's not just about you or us. It is bigger than baseball a little bit, right? It's about all the lessons that life can teach us, and that's a huge thing in baseball. You can't just go rah-rah all the time. So that's what I'm going to end with. If you do those 3 things, you can't lose. I will see you guys tomorrow. Go M's.